Yeah.
Okay. So today was supposed to be chapter 9 of the Gita. But one thing I wanted to do, as I mentioned um, in my text, was before we get into chapter 9, let's just make sure we all are on the same page about Satyam and Mithya. Because, it's one of the most confusing parts of Advait Vedanta. In fact, actually, this is the only thing that really separates Advait Vedanta from Dvait and from Vishisht Advait. Because in those other two, the Satyam Mithya concept doesn't come. Uh, you know, like and Satyam Mithya is basically describing the relationship between Brahman and the individual. So when you talk about Dvait, the individual is separate, Brahman is separate, and we are asking, as an individual, we are asking Brahman for, we have a relationship with God. Brahman is basically, Nirgun is Brahman, Sagun is God. So you can replace Brahman with Ishwar in this. And so we are trying to develop a relationship with Ishwar. We are trying to tell Ishwar that we will be good, you be good to us. We will, you know, we will serve you, you bless us. That's the sort of the pattern of relationship. And that's how most religions start. That's how spirituality starts. And then you progress on to slightly more mature way of thinking where you say, okay, you know, Ishwar is not separate from me. I am part of Ishwar. This world is part of Ishwar. And this Ishwar becomes the world. Anything in the world is Ishwar. Everything around me is Ishwar. I am also Ishwar. I'm part of Ishwar. Everything is a part of Ishwar. The collective whole is Ishwar. Right? And that sort of, when we get there, that's Vishishtadvait. It's a little bit more evolved, or shall we say, philosophically speaking, not making any value judgments, but philosophically a little bit more evolved. And then finally, you say, no, even that is not exactly right. There is only Ishwar, and Ishwar appears as this world, and Ishwar appears as me. So the only real substance is Ishwar. Everything else is an appearance of Ishwar. So when we think about it like this, then that's where Satyam and Mithya comes in. Up until saying I am a part of Ishwar, it's still intuitive. You can think about the universe as a system with multiple components and parts. You can think about Ishwar as the whole universe. You can think about yourself and understand yourself as a part of that whole. It's not non-intuitive. That's how we've been thinking. But when we start saying all there is Ishwar, and the world is an appearance of Ishwar, that's where the troubles come in. Because now we are getting into a way of thinking which, unless you are a modern physicist, and dealing in math, or you are a jnani, it's very hard to follow what this is being said. So, I wanted to make sure that we understand this last part, which is what does Satyam and Mithya really mean? Because otherwise it can be very confusing. Sorry. So, um, one way is, I mean, are you with me so far? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me turn this off. Sorry, I'm getting texts.
Theoretically, we are with you, but on the practical plane, there's a lot of gap.
Yes. So that's what we want to talk about today. So that, and whatever time it takes, let's clarify it. If we can't get it done today, we'll have more sessions later at appropriate times. But let's understand. So one way to think about Satyam and Mithya is to think about form and substance. Okay? And let's go through that. So for example, sorry, I'm just getting some messages. I want to turn my this thing off so that I'm not. I have my watch, my phone, my iPad, everything is connected to my iMessage. So I turned off my phone, but my iPad is still ringing, my watch is still ringing. So I'm going to give it up now. It's too much. So one way to think about it is substance and form. And let's start with something which is easy, simple, not exactly correct, but a simpler way to get us started. So for instance, when you think about jewelry, you can think about gold and bangle, or gold and ring, or gold and earrings, right? With gold, you can make many different kinds of jewelries. Now, would you agree that, let's say, if I make a bangle out of gold, that the substance there is gold and the form is bangle? Would you agree with that? Yeah. And
Yeah.
the same gold, the same substance, you can change its form. You can melt the bangle and make a ring. So now you change the form from bangle to ring, but the substance remains the same. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sunil,
Yeah,
Rajiv?
yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
all good.
must be involved in this one because otherwise we'll get lost. If you don't continue to talk with me, you'll go to sleep.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute, but yeah, that's
Okay.
understandable.
Okay. So we know that there's a form and there's a substance. A form cannot exist without a substance. Can you think of a bangle alone without any substance on it? Can you say, okay, I want to make a bangle, but I don't need a substance, just the form. Is it possible?
Not possible.
Not possible, right? So a form always needs a substance. And likewise, actually, a substance also can't exist without a form. In the case of when we are talking about a substance like gold, when we're talking about time and space as an object, as a thing, a substance can't exist without a form. You can say, I will crumple up the gold and, you know, and just leave it aside. Don't not make a bangle, nothing. But even if it's a form that you don't recognize, even if it's a lump of gold, it is still a form. The substance and form always go together. You can change a substance, but you can't change a form. Like, can you, for example, turn a gold bangle into a silver bangle? I'm not talking about, atomic processes. Let's leave it, let's stay in for the purpose of this analogy, let's stay in day-to-day life. We can't change a silver bangle into a gold bangle, right? Or vice versa. But we can change a gold bangle into a gold earring or a gold anklet. So the idea here is that a form can be changed and it changes all the time. The substance doesn't change. Okay, that's what I want us to take away from it. And then we will apply this to Satya Mithya. Because really where I'm going is form is Mithya and substance is Satyam. That's what we are saying. Okay. So if you think about it like that, now, any questions so far? Form is changeable. In fact, actually, not only is form can be changed, form is never stable. Form is always changing. Even if you take a gold bangle, some erosion, something is happening all the time. At a microscopic level, the form is always changing. You cannot hold a form steady. Substance is never changing. You cannot change the substance. That is the big thing we have to understand. The form cannot exist without the substance. In the case of gold and bangle analogy, the substance also cannot exist without the form. But they are two separate things. When we say, and we actually confuse it because we think that the substance is bangle. We think actually it's a bangle. We always call it golden bangle. The bangle is the important part. Whereas if you really think about it, what is there is gold. You should call it bangle formed gold. But we never think about it like that. We always say form. So our focus is always on the mithya part, on the form part. But a Johri who knows will not care about the form of the bangle. When you give him or her the golden bangle, he's going to wait. And the weight is not of the form, is of the substance. He is looking at the substance. Whether it is golden bangle or golden earring, he's trying to see how much gold is there. Because he understands that the substance, the thing which is of value is gold, is the substance. So far because this is the simple part. So I want to make sure so far there is no confusion. We understand that there is form, there is substance. Form always changes, substance never changes. Form cannot exist without substance. Okay, you can, just to give you an example, you
And
could
third point is the
Anji,
value is of the substance, not the form.
say that again. Sanjay, you cut out. You said the
The
value.
third point is the value is of the substance, not the form.
Yes, I mean loosely speaking, yes, because the real value is the substance. The thing of importance is the substance. And
Substance,
you need to be a Jori to understand that. So you need to be a Jnani to understand that Satyam is really valuable, not Mithya.
Yeah.
Right? But most people
Mm.
think that the form is valuable. Most people they get fascinated by the form. And human beings, not Jnanis, we get fascinated by the Mithya.
Not to stir the pot, but
Yes.
but isn't the opposite true or more true? In the sense that in the case of gold, because you're taking a substance that's so valuable, so therefore you said that's where the value is. The form has less of a value, and only Jori knows that. But if you take just regular iron, and a famous sculptor makes something out of it, then the opposite is true.
Agreed. So there's a limit to this analogy. That's what I was saying. We can't take this analogy too far. And I will tell you another bigger limit to it. No, you're totally right. Right? And actually, that is why I was hesitating a little when Sanjay was saying the value is in the substance, not in the form. There's value in both places. The thing is, we have to recognize that there is something called substance, and we have to appreciate the substance, that it doesn't change. So, yes, I agree with you, Atul. So this analogy cannot go into the situation where a lump of clay is turned into David by Okay. So let's now let's actually take this deeper, a little bit deeper. So I say that the bangle is the form and the gold is the substance. And now, if you're just thinking of the surface, fine. But Vedanta doesn't think only on the surface. So we need to go deeper. Is gold really a substance, or is gold also a form? Because gold can be changed through some chemical processes. What is gold? What is gold made of? And we know what gold is made of. It's made of gold molecules. And those gold molecules are made of atoms and electrons. If we take the same atoms and electrons and rearrange them differently, we can get a whole new element. Just like we take the same gold and rearrange it differently, we can get from a bangle to a ring. It's just a question of arrangement of the substance. Similarly, if we rearrange the nucleus and the atoms in the molecule of gold, we can get silver. We can get something completely different. There is no difference in the electron and the proton and the neutron, whether it's in gold or in any other substance. So, is gold really a substance or is it a form? We never think about gold as a form. For us, it's a solid substance. And for all practical purposes, living our life, day-to-day life, it's true. We are okay. It's solid. I can't say that it's just a form. a form in our mind doesn't have any substance in it, right? It's like mathematically, if you draw a circle on a piece of paper, that's a form. But it doesn't mean anything. It's conceptual. That circle, you have to take a substance and make it into a circle for it to mean something. So we always think of gold as a substance. But in reality, gold is not a substance. It is a form. It's an arrangement, a rearrangement of certain molecules and atoms, which we call gold. You arrange them in one way, we call it gold. You arrange them in another way, you can call it hydrogen. You can call it helium. So what's the real substance here? What do you guys think? Do you agree?
Matter.
Okay. Well, let's go step by step, right? So if we just stay at this step, the substance is probably, you'll say, electrons and protons, right? And the form is gold or silver or something else. But to your point, you can go deeper. You can say, take an electron. Is electron also a substance or a form? Because, we know that, or easier, take a proton, which is common in all these elements. Is that also a substance or a form? Because a proton is made out of quarks. And I don't remember now whether it's 2 down and 1 up, something like that. 2 down quarks and 1 up quark make a proton. You take 2 up quarks and 1 down quark, it becomes a neutron. So what we think is a substance, say proton, is also just a form. It's a rearrangement of something which is a component or a part or something which it's built from. That's what a form is. Form is always an arrangement or a rearrangement of something which it's built upon. So even electron, proton, neutrons, these fundamental particles are also just forms. This may not be important for our day-to-day life, but you have to agree that this is not false. I mean, is there anything wrong or incorrect in what is being said? Something that you don't agree with? Because if you have, I really want us to make sure we agree, because otherwise we won't make progress. We got to go step by step.
Since you are asking for that,
Yeah.
I think the disagreement I have is when you say it's only a form. In other words, you are sort of
Okay, sorry. It's a form.
Yeah, because the
Don't
way I
get
think of
carried
it
away
is
by the word,
Huh? Yeah. Because the way so far what I'm thinking is actually form is of substance.
So actually, yeah, so good. Where we are headed with this is, everything that we thought is a substance is actually a form. It's made up of other forms. Some of those other forms we've been able to discover, some we are yet to discover. But what is this world? Swami Dayananda used to call it, it's forms within forms. That's what this world is. Forms within forms. You can even call it names, because actually what's a form? Form is just a name. What's a circle? The form means something to us because you give it a name. So the world is names within names. Namani, namani. That's the Sanskrit phrase. Namani, namani. Names within names. Forms within forms. That's what the world around us is.
But we do keep looking for the most elementary
Substance.
particle, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And we end up finding a form.
But that quest is ongoing, I'm saying.
Yeah. Sure.
Physics.
The quest is ongoing, but I'm saying, the point to think about is, can you ever find an elementary particle? As long, this is the sort of the insight from Vedanta, as long as what you're looking for is an object, which is in time and space, it can never be the substance. This you have to understand.
Say that again. Say the last part again.
as long as you're looking for a substance which is an object in space and time, it can never be the substance. It will always be a form. Because you can never come up with a form which can never be subdivided into another form.
But isn't that in the purview of science and physics? Like, this is, how does one draw this conclusion from? So maybe you can just speak more to why that is not possible in space and time.
Well, you have to think about it, you know. You think about how is it possible? Can you think of something which is so small that it can't be made smaller? Or so
But look,
large that
I
it can be
couldn't
made
even
larger?
think of quarks. I couldn't
Yeah, so
even think
then-
of strings. I can't even think of that, right?
Yeah, but-
But that is a field of expertise which is in the domain of physics.
No, Kiki, but we are not talking, we are just using that as an example. All this physical stuff is just an example. These guys who thought about it, Vedanta, they didn't have physics, modern physics to help them.
Yeah,
They were thinking, you know, I have to take this call.
yeah.
Why don't you continue? You know, Kavita, Kiki, Krishan Bhaiya ki call from Delhi about mummy's taxes. Okay,
Sure.
so I'm going to come back. You can talk about it for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Hello?
So Nidhi, when he says you, I don't think he's meaning you. He's meaning you all. In
No,
other
I
words-
was flattered. I was flattered for a second. Atul, you're taking that away from me. I was not taking that. I was not taking that badly, but thank you for.
Yeah, but you know me better than that.
Yes, I know.
That flattering couldn't last too long.
You should have turned the recording off.
But he needs to catch up too. So actually,
Is this? Go ahead.
and obviously this is sort of intermission, so pre-intermission. So abhi to kahani aage chalegi. But so far, I mean, the way I'm thinking of this is that so far what I've heard, I can easily connect the dots and say that Satyam is mithya, and mithya is the truth. In other words,
Exactly opposite. Exactly opposite.
I mean, the
Yeah.
goal is exactly opposite, but so far it seems like
Yeah.
It will continue.
Here he is, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So basically all we see is forms within forms. So far, so good. And I heard,
Yeah.
Atul, your question about, like, when I was coming back, that so far it seems mithya is all there is. And you know, Buddhism will agree with you. You know, they might say that's what it's called, the Shunya philosophy, that all there is Shunya. So actually, that's my question to you. Is there any substance to this world? And maybe before that, I actually want to go through another exercise. Just like we did this for the outside things, now you tell me, form and substance, our body, is this form or substance?
Form.
Right? Anybody think differently? Hope not.
Yeah, I think differently. I think the discrepancy lies in the way you have structured the question, either or. I think the way I think of it is,
No,
it is
you're thinking too far ahead, Atul, I think. You're thinking
Okay.
you're going ahead of the teacher.
मैं तो audit कर रहा हूँ यार. I would not go and
Stay
study.
with me. Stay with me. It's just a simple thing. We go from simple to complex. So right now, I'm just saying we define form and substance. We said gold is actually turned out to be form, not substance. Our body similarly is a form, right? It's made of substances. It's made of carbon and everything. It's an arrangement of certain molecules, carbon and protein and other molecules. That's what the body is at the end of the day, right?
Right.
So we talk about these koshas. So now, obviously it's not. So am I, me, a rearrangement of molecules if I'm the body? But we say we are not, I'm not the body, right? So I'm not a rearrangement of molecules. I'm something more than that. So let's go the next level, the next kosha from the body, is the pranamaya kosha. So they say now that body se jab pran nikal jate hain, then a person dies. And the pranas go somewhere else and find another body. Is that prana? Is that form or substance? There is a prana, my prana, there is your prana, everybody else, everybody has pranas. So there is a distinction between things. When you have distinction between things, you have 2 of them, 3 of them, 4 of them, they can't be substance. They have to be forms. Because substances, you cannot, like, you can take the gold out of a bangle, you can take the gold out of a ring. You won't be able to tell from where you took the gold out. It's gold. There is no distinction in gold. There is only one gold. There is only one substance. Whenever there's a distinction, whenever there is more than one, then we are talking about forms. This is another thing to understand. You get that? If we are talking about, right? Because otherwise, if you're only talking substance, you will not be able to tell one gold molecule from another. So my prana and your prana, if you can't say a difference between them, then that's substance. My prana and your prana, if you can say, okay, this is my prana, that is your prana, my prana goes there, your prana goes there, they have forms. There has to be form. Otherwise, why would there be distinction? Similarly, body too. Now, what about our mind? What about our thoughts? Are our thoughts form or substance?
By that definition, they are form.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that the operative phrase there is by that definition, because it's just how are we defining form
How would you
and
define
substance.
form? Form is that. Form
Form is
what does
something
form
that can
mean?
be broken down
Yeah,
further.
yes.
Form is
That's
something
one.
that doesn't have an inherent existence by itself. It's just something that is made up and then we call it, but it doesn't have an inherent existence just by itself.
Okay. And we also said that, like, for example, now let's say you have thoughts. You have one thought and another thought. You can distinguish between those 2 thoughts, a happy thought and a sad thought. They're both thoughts. You could say they're both substance. What's the difference between the happy thought and the sad thought? The form. One seems happy to you, the other seems sad to you.
So I think the point you're making is that as long as we can make the distinction, then it must be a form.
Yes. As
And
long
when
as
we
you can
cannot
make
make
a
a distinction,
distinction.
then it's substance.
Yes.
So actually, in a crude way, Nidhi, it's like if you said, "Get me a handful of sand from outside," I bring sand, and then say, "No, give me, bring another handful of sand." If you cannot tell the difference, then at that level, sand is sand, right? So it doesn't matter.
But there are other, but you can tell the difference. That's the idea.
Yeah.
And the point to understand is what Shankaracharya says is that which is drishta is form. Drishta means something that can be perceived, either felt or seen or heard or experienced. It's a form. Why? Because you experience that. That is separate from you. it's not a substance.
So everything objective is a form, and the only
Everything which can
subjective
be perceived
is the substance.
is a form. And that's another way of saying everything in space and time is a form.
Yeah.
Actually, but when you say everything in space and time is form, what if I said everything is form?
Yeah, because all you are seeing, all you can imagine is space and time. That's why I'm trying to make the distinction, because the next step is where you will see.
Yeah, but is there anything else? Is
Yeah,
there
that's a
anything else?
question. So that's my question to you. Is there anything else? Is there anything other than what you can see, perceive in space and time? For example, that's why I was continuing with our own example. We've got our body. The body is a form. We go deeper, thoughts are forms. Right? Who's having the thoughts? Me. Am I also a form? You go deep to the Atma. Is Atma also a form? As long as I can say, I am different from Atul, I'm a form. As long as I can say, I experience heat or India, sorry, slip. I experience Delhi in May and heat, and Atul is experiencing, Norway
I
in.
also experienced daily heat in May.
Okay. As long as I can say, I experience this and you experience that, whatever I'm referring to with that I is a form. Whatever I'm referring to, which is experiencing something, is an I, is a form. It is mithya. And that's what I've been trying to tell you all along. The one that experiences is mithya. We think. Okay. Anyway, so that's the thing. So what is Satyam? Is there anything which is what you can call substance? Is there? It's defined in Vedanta as Brahman. It's defined in as Brahman or Satyam or whatever you want to call it. Is there anything like that?
Not so far.
No, not that you can see, not that you can experience, not that you can experience as an individual Atul, not that you can experience as an individual Sunil or me as Dheeraj. When I'm looking to experience Satyam, I want to go find God, right? I want to go experience the real substance. I go looking like this, I will never find it. Because as Atul said, all there is when you look like this is mithya. All I can experience are forms. Some forms make me very happy and make me feel very peaceful, and I say, oh my God, what bliss. This, मैंने ये प्रवचन सुना and मैं तो बस, I'm in a different state of consciousness. Still a form. Maybe a very nice form. It's a form. And what's the property of forms? Forms come and go. They will change. It's a natural property of forms. A bangle will erode after some time. It'll become into some sort of lump. Human beings will die. Forms change. Moods change. Thoughts change. Feelings change. Because it's a form. So what's the substance? What is it that can never change, that doesn't change? What could it be? And how would you know that it exists? If all you can rely upon is your eyes and ears and your experience, your mind.
I think the answer to that is you cannot know that through your ears and eyes, and neither you can experience it.
Yes. But is it there?
Yeah, it is there.
And what makes you feel it is there? So the way Vedanta, because this is a difficult question, okay? We can't answer it without Vedanta's help. As human beings, we don't have that's why Vedanta is so powerful. That's why Because Vedanta becomes a praman. That means Vedanta becomes its own means of knowledge. Our means of knowledge are our mind, our experience, our eyes, our ears, everything. With that, we can't get the answer to this question. Because then we will get the answer that Atul is saying. So there is nothing, because I have not seen anything. So to know that, Vedanta becomes its own means of knowledge. That means you listen to the words of Vedanta and then see whether they ring. Because without it, you wouldn't know. So now, what Vedanta says is, the way to answer this is by going within yourself. Answer the question, am I there? Do I exist? Not whether I will exist forever or whether I existed before, nothing. At this moment in time, do I exist? And you have to know what that I actually means. Because if you're thinking about the I which is experiencing the world, then we just realize that's a form. That's not the I we are talking about. If you're thinking about the I which is separate from Atul and from Kiki and from Sanjay and all, that I is a form that we established. Of an I which breaks up this substance already and creates a form and then has other forms and then has the capacity to experience another form is not the I we are talking about. But what gives it the capacity to experience another form? What is this Chetna Tattva, this consciousness Tattva, which gives a form the ability to experience another form? What is that essence? That's what you have to think about. And that, Vedanta tells you, is you. That's who you are. And as long as that exists, you exist. You may not exist in this form, in this world, in this shape, but you exist.
Dheeraj, I was just thinking, sorry for the interruption
No,
here,
no, no,
but
it's okay, it's okay.
I think, I mean, this seems to me to be a reiteration of, the discussion around what is consciousness, awareness, right? And, we talked about it and said, that's the no space, no time world, nothing changes. There is no experience, right? So I think, I mean, are we again trying to bridge
Yeah,
back
it's the
to
same.
that?
We are going at it from a
Yeah.
different way.
Yeah. Okay.
We are trying,
Okay.
the whole of Vedanta, okay, is all about introducing to us
Yeah.
this thing which cannot be experienced by any other.
Exactly.
That's what
I think
Vedanta is all about. And it tries different ways to get you there depending on where your mindset is. So it
Yeah,
tries
so-
Satyam Mithya, it tries this, it tries that. But wherever there is a talk of Brahma, there is Vedanta. And wherever, and the only way to know whatever it is which will take you to Brahman is Vedanta. It doesn't have to be in Gita, in the Upanishads, even it doesn't have to be in the Indian culture. It could be, that Thomas Aquinas, who that Christian saint, could be him. Could be the poet Rumi, who talks about it. Could be Wordsworth talking about daffodils and how he feels. But whoever is talking about Brahman, whatever is discussing Brahman is Vedanta. Because there is only one Brahman. And if you talk about Vedanta and don't bring in Brahman and just talk about, so when you talk about Shrishti, so you talk about Rajas, Tamas, everything. All these are exercises to take you to Brahman. If they don't take you to Brahman, it's not Vedanta. When we talk about Karam Yoga, it's an exercise to take your mind to a place where you can then go to Brahman. That's why it's Vedanta. If it is Karam Yoga only for the sake of Karam Yoga, it's not Vedanta. So all Vedanta is about is Brahman. The two are, as Swami Paramarthananda said, they have a mutually exclusive relationship. In he was saying, okay, in Facebook these days they say, "What's your status?" So you can have I'm single, or you can say in a relationship. And then when it advances further, you can say in an exclusive relationship. So Vedanta and and Brahman have an exclusive relationship, a one-on-one. This is all. This is the gist of the third sutra of Brahma Sutra.
It hasn't all this, at least in my mind, it has led to the even questioning, is there Brahman?
Yeah, so that when you start questioning that, you're really getting onto the path of Vedanta. Is there Brahman? How do I know there is Brahman? Vedanta gives you a methodology, follow it, think about it. Does it make sense to you? What is the Brahman? What is the Brahman? Or rather, you can't say what is the Brahman, you have to figure out what is not that Brahman. What is it? Like how you have to say everything that comes to your mind when you think about Brahman, you have to figure out is not Brahman. Neti, neti, na eti, na eti. Not this, not this. So you have to go through that exercise and then you convince yourself, or you either one way or the other. That exercise, doing that is what's called Brahmanishtha. That is the goal of Vedanta. That means developing conviction that there is a Brahman. Everything we say, whether we call it moksha, whether we call it jnani, whether we call it Brahmanishtha, all these words, they are all basically mean the same thing. They mean coming to a place where you have a conviction about the existence of Brahman, although the Brahman cannot be seen, felt, understood, experienced, everything, all of that stuff. That's Brahmanishtha. And that comes through study, through think. So the process for that is Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasnam. You study, you read with a guru. You understand the words slowly. Then you do Mananam. Remove your doubt. Then you do Nididhyasnam. Start applying it to your life, because only then you will get conviction. Some of the things which Vedanta says, see whether it's true in your life. Okay. So hopefully with this, at least we know what is meant by Satya Mithya. That it's not, Mithya doesn't mean an illusion, like an illusion in like a magician's trick. Mithya means a form. And then there are, of course, what creates the form. There's Maya and all of that other stuff. But, those are technical details. But the idea is this. So you could say...
Sorry.
No, it's
when
okay.
you say mithya is not an illusion, so if you use the rope snake example, would you not say that the snake is mithya and an illusion, and the rope is satyam and not an illusion?
That's only to introduce us, right? First step. You could have used the rope snake example, or you could have used the gold and bangle example. But then you go further. There is no satyam there. Even the snake is a mithya, because it's made out of...
No. Within the limits of the example, within the limits of using the rope snake.
But you got to go further from there and say everything in this world is a form. So you can say everything is an illusion, or you can say everything is real. It's a question of how you define real. If, like Atul said earlier, you define real, that all there is forms, and that is real, then they're real. That is why they say mithya is anirvachaniya. Sad, asad, anirvachaniya. Sat means real, asat means unreal. Anirvachaniya meaning cannot be described. It's both, it's neither sat, neither real nor unreal, and it cannot be described. So that is Shankaracharya's definition of mithya. Sat, asat, bhav, anirvachaniya.
Yeah.
It's quite possible that if we, linking it to what Nidhi was saying about the physics, or anything you were saying about the looking for the unified thing, maybe when we find that unified thing, if we find it, that's when we'll find Brahma.
But see, that's where you have to understand, will you find it? You have to be able to answer that question thinking as a Vedantin, because it's not as if the physicists know any better whether they will find it or not. They're also struggling in the same boat. They're just like us.
Yeah.
They're not, no big deal.
Yeah.
So the question is, will you find it?
No, but my point
can you
is the
find
same
it?
thing. Since they're also struggling like this, I would go a step further, and therefore the probability of finding it is about the same, close to zero.
No, but
And
see that I'm saying, don't think. I'm asking you to step back from all of this. There's a whole process which has gone on for ages, where we get closer and closer, smaller and smaller. What are we finding? We are only finding new forms within forms, right? Why? Because anything that you are finding out there, separate from you, and you're saying, okay, that is in space and time, will be a form. If you understand this, then this question is meaningless. You would
no,
ask.
no, I think I'm understanding that. So in other words, the track that we are on, we'll never find, because if we get deeper and deeper, there'll be another
Yeah.
form to discover.
Not only that, by the way, the other thing that's happening is now people are finding where are, let's say, these strings? Where are they in space? Space itself is a material. So they're trying to find out the particles that make space itself.
Yeah, but see, so having understood that, or a feeling that I've understood that, I'm with that understanding, I'm actually at a point where I'm questioning the existence of Brahma even more.
Okay, good. I mean, at least you're thinking about it, you're questioning. That's a very good thing. And you're questioning with some basis and knowledge. So please question. If you want to have a discussion with me, welcome to do that. But that's Vedant is telling you, please question. Otherwise, अभी तक तो तेरे को ब्रह्मा का आइडिया ही नहीं था, तू तो ऐसे सुन ही रहा था like an audit student. Now at least you're using your doubts are grounded on some context. So please question, absolutely. And I'm sure amongst all of us, if I was to ask each one of you, we will all say we are Brahmanishta, but we are not, because we haven't thought through it. I know it. Just because you read it in Vedanta and then you say, oh, no, aise hota hai, and you just parrot what Upanishads are saying or what Swami is saying or somebody else is saying, doesn't give you conviction. There's no conviction there. It's just that's just a starting point. Only when you start introspecting within yourself is when the conviction starts to come. So the whole purpose, the reason why I wanted to go through this exercise with you is so that you at least get on square A about Satyam Mithya, and then you start thinking about it in an educated way. But please question. That is the whole idea. Like, what would it be if there's no Brahman? What would it be like if there was a Brahman? And that Brahman is not something that is in space and time, not a thing, not something you as an individual can experience, but it is you. When you get rid of everything that you think you are, you still remain, and that is Brahman. Does that make sense? So this can only, it's like any guru, anybody can only take you to the water. You got to drink after that. There's no shortcut if you really want to understand Vedanta. Okay. All right. Any question on Satyam Mithya from anybody else? Sunil and Mukta, Sanjay, Rajiv. Anything which is standing out as a problem, or which you can't, which you're having a real mental reaction to?
You muted, Sanjay.
Sanjay, you're mute. Sanjay, you're mute. I can't hear you.
There we go.
Yeah. Now you can talk.
I was saying that whatever we have heard today evening, that everything is mithya. And
Everything is Mithya.
everything, whatever we observe, whatever our bodies, minds, thoughts, everything is mithya. But how do we reach to the goal of Satyam? What exactly is Satyam? Can we reach there?
And who is the we where that wants to reach to Satyam?
Huh.
So when
That's
you
the
say,
next question.
is it that Sanjay, as distinct from Mukta, everybody else who wants to reach Satyam? Yes, you can reach Satyam through knowledge, through an understanding, through so I'll tell you how it is. Give you an example. So, and I'm going to give you modern physics examples because that's how I think. Okay, I've been used to that. So there is something called space-time, four-dimensional space-time.
Yeah.
Now, four-dimensional space-time means that the space is curved. Time is another dimension. We think about space in 3 dimensions. There are actually 4 dimensions. Time is considered another dimension. And the space is curved in space-time. It's not totally flat. And the moment there's an object in space-time, it curves space-time even more. Now, this we can never experience. Actually, they say if you do a thought experiment and you're falling through a black hole, you wouldn't realize you're falling through a black hole. For you, it'll be just the same old, the life is going on as usual. Time expands, contracts, you wouldn't know it. For you, time is just the same. Relative to somebody else, it's contracting and sharing, right? So the question would be, how do I know that space-time is curved? Because I cannot possibly experience a curved space-time. The most intense curvature of space-time happens in a black hole. I can't even experience that. Even if I was able to get into a black hole and stay alive, I would still not be experiencing for me, it'll be flat because I'm also curving along with the space-time. So if I'm also curving and space-time is also curving, then for me, it's flat, right? So I can never experience curved space-time. But there are corollaries to curvature of space-time. One of the corollaries is that light from a distant source will curve, will bend when it passes around a heavy object. Because the heavy object curves space-time, so locally there's a curvature of space-time near that heavy object which is far away. You are standing here. So I'm talking like light years away, right? And there's another big galaxy there, which is curving space-time, and light is coming from a galaxy behind it. So when a light comes from a galaxy behind it, it passes through a curved space-time around the galaxy and comes here. So the previous galaxy, which is behind the middle galaxy, seems shifted. It's supposed to be there, but now suddenly it's there. Or when you have solar eclipses, you'll see that the stars around the sun, which are close to the sun, they seem shifted because the light has turned. So all you can see is the corollary. By those, if you understand logically what Einstein said and that makes sense, and then you experience a corollary, then you gain conviction that he may be right. He must be right. So what you have to understand is logically, does this make sense? That everything around me is a form, that if there's a substance, that substance is not in space and time, that substance is me. If I exist, that means that substance exists. Do I exist? If I understand this logically, and a corollary of this is, I am a Sangha. That means if I am the substance and the form keeps changing, nothing happens to me. If gold is a substance and it changes from silver, from bangle to ring, nothing happens to the gold. Something happens to the form. So a corollary of this is that I am a Sangha. And if in your lifetime you experience that you're a Sangha, you think you're Sangha, you think you're attached to a lot of different things, but you've seen life go by. You've seen a lot of attachments come and go. A lot of things which you thought are going to shatter you, you're continuing. You find your experiences and find you're a Sangha. That'll start giving you, you think you understand those, that'll start giving you a conviction that yes, there is a me that is a Sangha. It is not attached to forms. I know it's not a form. I can't see it. That's how you get the conviction. That's why they say in Vedanta, Brahma is known through knowledge. Jnanena eva Brahma. Karmani, na karmani, not by actions, right? Not by thinking. Of course, those are important things to get your mind ready. But Jnanena eva Brahma. So you have to know Brahma through Gyan, through knowing and through the experience of its corollaries. And why do we say that this knowledge changes us? Why? Because, okay, if you're Brahman, you before you didn't know you're Brahman, now you know you're Brahman. So what? What's the big deal? Nothing has changed. What has changed is that once you know you're Brahman, right? You experience those corollaries, you start understanding and living those corollaries. So once you know you're a Sangha, your sorrow plummets down. That's why in the first verse of Gita, Krishna Bhagwan said, he said to Arjun, you're talking like a wise man, but you're full of sorrow. Like, what is this? Wise people don't, wallow in self-pity. So that's why it affects us in day-to-day life. But the main thing is, it's just a quest for knowledge. I mean, would you want to know? Okay. Any other questions? Sunil, from you? So तो नहीं गया तू? So ही गया था almost. Sorry, I mean, I know you came after a long time, and I think this was a very heavy class. Anyway, it's totally fine. Okay, should we call it a day or night or whatever, as the case may be?
So there is more on this next time, or what's the game plan?
Well, I mean, if you want, we can talk more on this. But see, the reason why I wanted to do this is because chapter 9 has a lot of stuff about bhakti, and this is the final stage of bhakti.
No, but, I mean, the reason I'm asking is ki, if the purpose of this or these sessions was for us to, or for me to know that there is Brahma and all that, so I don't think I'm there.
Yeah.
If I personally feel that I'm further away.
Okay. Okay.
And again, I'm when I say that, I'm not saying it with disappointment. I'm just sort of,
Yeah.
Uh,
As in a Sangha, you're looking
but
at
this is the irony of it, right? So I say I'm further away, but I also feel that I'm enlightened.
Yeah.
I'm feeling more enlightened, but I'm feeling further away.
Yeah.
If the two can be
It's
true.
and if you feel that no, there is no Brahman, or you have a different way of thinking about it, yeah, it's totally fine. Yeah.
And both I mean, the end is not here, right? So we don't know.
Right.
I'm just describing the present state. Kal
See,
kya hoga?
whether there is Brahman or not, it's like they say, the difference is the difference between a genius and a madman. It's a razor thin line. Because even if it is there, it is something which is so fine, so like that it's almost like nothing. It is nothing. It's not a thing. So it's just consciousness. It's not a thing. So if you say Brahman is not there, you're right. Because there is nothing called Brahman.
Yeah.
The question is, like, are you there? And what of you is there? Like, what's the rather than finding out the fundamental particle of the universe, maybe we should, if you focus on finding the fundamental particle of you, what is the fundamental you that is really you? That will be very, I think we can get there. That has more chances of success.
I think that sorry, I have to run.
Okay.
I would like to say something. Sometimes it comes to my mind like this, that I am conscious. I am there. This is my, the consciousness is there. That is why, that is me. That is I. Right? But, and because I am conscious, I experience the world. The world appears to me. The universe appears to me. But supposing I die, a cold also disappears for me. So, I mean, I don't know where I'm going with this, but these thoughts come to my mind.
I
Is
think
this what we call the world is an appearance, or
no. I mean, I think no. The world is an appearance in Brahman, right? Not in you. So
yeah.
so
But when we
there's a
say I
difference.
am Brahman,
Yeah. So but the one who dies is not Brahman. That's what I was going to
that's
say.
true. That's true.
So when you say
That's true.
I'm going to die and the world will disappear, you are not referring to the Brahman. You're referring to Mukta, the
Okay.
Jivatma,
Body. Yeah.
the body, the
Yeah.
mind, whatever the thing.
Yeah.
So this is why that is where the problems happen,
Confusion
because we're
comes.
habitually used to thinking about ourselves as this individual, that we start thinking from a Brahman, and then we get down to our individual, and we get confused between the two.
Yeah.
So
Right.
right. So yeah, so if you're looking at it from a Vyavaharika perspective, that is you as Mukta, then what Vedanta says is, yeah, you will die, but you will be reborn. It's not that your experiences will go away. If experience is what you want, basically when you say, I want life, I want to be alive, what you're saying is, I want experience. I don't want experience to go away. You want a good experience, that's good, but you are attached to the experience. For you, being able to experience the world is very important. So there is a experiencer in you, which is experiencing the world.
Yeah.
That is not Brahman. That is not you, but you think that is you.
Right.
That's what.
I agree.
Right. So
I get it.
that Vedanta says, okay, there will be another experience tomorrow. But it's saying, maybe you should think about it and see, is that experiencer, which is wanting to experience, is that really what you are? Is that really what is important to you, the ability to experience? Like in deep sleep, you have no experience. Are you dead in deep sleep? Like, is that an unpleasant, horrible situation where you don't want to go? Because there is no experience there. Does that make you feel dead? Does that make you feel less? Does that make you feel reduced in any way? So that's how it's saying you think about this.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Thanks, Dheeraj. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's a good session as always. I have to leave now.
Yeah, please. Yeah, I think we all have to. Thank you very
Yeah.
much, Sunil. Thanks for joining.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. See you guys.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Catch up with you soon.
Okay. Shall we end then?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.